In the last section, we went through steps 1 and 2 of our 3-step process of rendering a component. In this section, we're going to finish off with the third step here. For a user to see any content, it must be contained within the DOM, specifically within our body tag. To get our content to show up on the page, we'll need to tell React to put our rendered component into the body tag. To do so, we're going to use a function on the React DOM library to render our component into the DOM. This is a pretty good time to talk about the difference between React and React DOM. You'll notice that we specifically imported 2 libraries here. The first one, React, is a JavaScript file that contains the React library, the core library. React is what's used for defining components. React DOM, on the other hand, is what's used for actually rendering a component into, you guessed it, the DOM. React and React DOM used to be a single library just called React, but they were recently split into two separate libraries called React and React DOM. You'll find a lot of tutorials that might still reference just React, but you can really just replace it at any given time with React DOM so long as you've included this script tag here. So to render this into the DOM, we'll go ahead and we'll write React DOM. So this is a reference to this library right here, .render, and then we're going to give it 2 arguments here. The first argument is the instance of the class that we want to render. So for us, it's going to be element. And the second is where we want to render it to. In our case, we're going to render it directly into our body tag. So we can write document.body. Okay, I'm going to save this, and we should now be able to load our page up in the browser. So I'm going to run open index.html. And we see nothing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the JavaScript console here. And you'll notice that we got a big ol' red error message that popped up. It says class specification must implement a render method. So if we go and look at our current React class, you'll notice that we're just passing it an empty object right now. To make a valid React class, we must always provide an object with a defined property called render. And render must be a function. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to add a key render, and its value will be a function. Like the error message said, all class definitions must implement this render method. The render method is the real workhorse of your class. Whatever it returns is what the component is going to render to the page. And when I say return, I mean specifically JSX. So if we render some valid JSX, or if we return some valid JSX from this render method right here, it's going to show up inside of our document. Let's try it out. We'll write return, and then we'll write a little bit of JSX in here. So we'll make a div tag, and then inside of it, we'll write hello world. Okay, I'm going to save this, and then we'll flip back on over and refresh the page, and we get hello world. You'll notice that we get an error message over here. Don't worry about this. We'll fix this in a future section. So let's reiterate what it took to get here. First, we defined a React class. A class is a cookie cutter that describes the form and function of a component. The class must always have a render method that must always return JSX. Second, we instantiated that class using the react.createElement method. Finally, we inserted that into the DOM by using the react DOM.render method. Again, note the difference between the React library and the React DOM library. React is used for creating classes, while React DOM is used for just putting them into the HTML document, into the actual DOM. Throughout this tutorial, you might notice a place or two where I still use react.render instead of react DOM.render. Don't sweat it. If you ever see that, just continue using the react DOM.render syntax. Okay, let's go ahead and continue in the next section.